Welcome to the captivating realm of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss any of our exciting new stories. Enjoy the journey.
Paul Foster's fingers hovered over his keyboard, frozen in midair as the holographic message blinked to life before him. The alien script twisted and shifted until it morphed into English, searing its contents into his mind. Zorak is dead. You are his heir. Come to Proxima B immediately. Paul blinked, stunned. Zorak, his alien friend of 5 years, was gone, and he, a regular programmer from Boston, was somehow his heir. It seemed impossible. But as more messages arrived over the next few days, each verified by codes that only he and Zorak knew, the truth set in. This was real. 2 weeks later, Paul found himself aboard an interstellar ship, racing through the vast emptiness toward Proxima Centauri. The journey was a blur of cryosleep, punctuated by brief, bewildering moments of consciousness. As the ship began its descent to Proxima B, Paul pressed his face to the viewport. The alien planet unfurled before him, a surreal landscape of deep purples and swirling silver clouds. His pulse quickened. This was real. This was happening. The ship touched down with a gentle thud, and Paul swallowed, adjusting his Earth-made suit, an awkward fit for the alien atmosphere, but the best he could manage on short notice. As the airlock hissed open, he took his first step onto alien soil. A small welcoming party awaited him, and 2 figures immediately stood out, their alien beauty taking his breath away. One was tall and lean, with shimmering blue skin and piercing silver eyes. The other was shorter, with iridescent scales and delicate tendrils framing her face. She smiled warmly, putting him at ease. "Welcome, Paul Foster," said the taller one, her voice musical, yet with an unearthly resonance. "I am Azora, Zorak's first wife." "And I am Leah," added the other, her voice softer, almost like a song. "Second wife of Zorak, and now, along with my sister wife, part of your inheritance." Paul's mouth dropped open. "Wait, wives? Zorak never mentioned." Azora's eyes gleamed. "There is much Zorak did not tell you, it seems. Come, we have much to discuss." They led him to a sleek, hovering vehicle, which sped silently toward the city. As they traveled, Paul's mind raced with questions. Outside, the alien landscape was hauntingly beautiful, full of twisting spires and floating gardens. "I don't understand," Paul said at last. "Why would Zorak leave everything to me? We were friends, yes, but this is overwhelming." Leah placed a gentle hand on his arm, a wave of warmth spreading from her touch. "Zorak saw something in you, Paul. Something special. He believed you could bridge our worlds." "But why me?" Paul persisted. "I'm just a programmer. I don't know anything about your world, your customs. I can't even breathe here without help." Azora's gaze sharpened. "Perhaps that is exactly why, a fresh perspective. Untainted by our complex society." The vehicle slowed, arriving before a towering structure that seemed to defy gravity. Crystalline spires twisted skyward, connected by delicate bridges that shimmered in the alien sunlight. "Welcome to your new home," Leah said softly. Paul stepped out, looking up at the building in awe. This is mine." "Ours," Azora corrected, a glint of challenge in her tone. "Remember, we are part of your inheritance, too." Paul's cheeks flushed, unsure how to respond. "Look, about that. On Earth, we don't exactly. We know of Earth's customs," Leah interjected kindly. "But you are no longer on Earth, Paul Foster. Here, you must learn new ways." Inside, Paul marveled at the alien architecture and advanced technology. Holographic displays flickered as they passed, streaming data he couldn't even begin to decipher. This was Zorak's primary residence, Azora explained. And his main research facility. The work he was doing here, it could change everything. "Research?" Paul asked. "What kind of research?" Azora and Leah exchanged a glance. That, Leah said carefully, is a conversation for another time. For now, you should rest. You've had a long journey, and there is much to learn. They led him to a spacious room with a view of the alien city. Paul sank onto a bed that adapted to his shape, his mind racing. This wasn't just an inheritance. It was an invitation to become part of their world in a way he never anticipated. That night, in the warm glow of alien lights, Azora and Leah introduced him to their customs of closeness. Their forms were like sculptures, each line and curve expressing elegance and beauty. Azora and Leah embodied an ideal of beauty he could hardly fathom, but their presence held something deeper. Paul felt a powerful mix of awe and excitement as he faced them, his heartbeat matching the rhythm of their breaths. He knew this was a moment that would change him forever. Azora approached first, her movements fluid and confident. The light seemed to form a halo around her, accentuating her graceful form. She was tall, with each step radiating strength and assurance. She reached for Paul's arm, her fingers cool yet calming, igniting a spark of energy within him. Her touch was firm yet gentle, as if she understood his every thought and desire. Leah, by contrast, was the picture of gentleness and grace. Her silver hair flowed like liquid light down her back, and her deep violet eyes held an alluring, hypnotic quality. She approached with the elegance of a dancer, her soft touch enveloping Paul in warmth. Together, Azora and Leah led Paul through a ritual that was both exhilarating and overwhelming, their connection instant and electric. They welcomed him into their world, their traditions, and their embrace with an openness that left him breathless. Azora leaned in, her lips close to his ear, murmuring something in her language, a melodic, almost spellbinding phrase that made Paul feel an urge to surrender to her guidance. Her hands traveled from his shoulders to his chest, firm and commanding. His pulse quickened as he felt her influence take hold. Leah stood beside him, tracing her fingers down his back with a feather-light touch. Paul shivered, his skin erupting in goosebumps. Her touches were gentle, like a breeze stirring dormant emotions he'd never known. Azora and Leah moved in harmony, their forms blending into a dance of unity. Paul felt them guiding him, every step purposeful and synchronized. Azora's touch was strong and confident, leading him with assurance, while Leah's was tender and nurturing. Paul's senses were flooded, as if his mind and body were becoming one with their world. He could feel their warmth, their breath, and their presence in a way he had never experienced. Every touch, every glance sparked feelings and desires that were new to him, as if he were part of something monumental. In this intimate setting, under the alien lights, Paul felt his bond with Azora and Leah deepening. They embodied a beauty and harmony he could only begin to understand. Their voices, soft and hypnotic, guided him into a new world with a warmth that left him feeling both needed and wanted. He was ready to embrace the life waiting for him. He embraced their world, their traditions, and their love. This night marked the beginning of an unforgettable chapter in his life. Paul felt that he was no longer just an heir, he was now a part of their world, their culture, and their hearts. The next few days blurred by, filled with new experiences. Paul struggled to adjust to the alien gravity, the unusual food, and the intricate social customs that seemed to shape every interaction. Azura and Leah were patient mentors, but he could sense their frustration at times. One evening, as Paul clumsily handled a piece of alien technology, Azura sighed. "No, you must feel the energy flow, not just manipulate it blindly." Paul gritted his teeth, responding, "I'm trying, but none of this makes sense to me. On Earth, we don't have whatever this is." Lyra suggested gently, "Perhaps that's the problem. You're still thinking like an Earthling. You need to open your mind to new possibilities." Over time, Paul started noticing strange occurrences, hushed conversations that stopped when he entered, odd signals on the devices he was learning to use, and always, the feeling of being watched. One restless night, Paul wandered the halls of his new home and found himself in Zorak's study, a room he hadn't fully explored. As he ran his hand along the alien desk, something clicked, a hidden compartment sprang open, revealing a data crystal unlike any he'd seen. With trembling hands, he inserted it into a nearby console. Zorak's face appeared on the screen, serious and urgent. "Paul, if you're watching this, then I'm gone, and the situation is critical. The inheritance I've left isn't just wealth and property, it's a duty, a mission. Forces threaten both our worlds, and you. You're the key to stopping them." The message abruptly cut off as alarms blared throughout the building. Paul spun around to find Azura and Leah standing at the doorway, their faces tense. "They're here," Azura hissed. "Kronos' agents. We need to leave." As they raced through the halls, the sounds of breaking glass and shouting echoed behind them. Paul's heart pounded. Who was Kronos? What did they want? And more importantly, what had Zorak gotten him into? As they reached a hidden exit, Paul realized one thing: his life would never be the same again. The alien landscape of Proxima B stretched out before Paul, Azura, and Leah as their hover vehicle glided over purple plains. Paul's gaze shifted from the swirling silver clouds above to the crystal formations jutting from the ground, still struggling to believe this wasn't a dream. Breaking the silence, he asked, "Where exactly are we going?" Azura's silver eyes locked onto his. "To the sacred caves of Luminera. If Zorak left any clues about his research and why Kronos wants it, we'll find them there." Leah leaned forward, her iridescent scales shimmering. "The caves are special, Paul. They're said to amplify latent abilities in some species, including humans." Paul frowned. "What kind of abilities?" Azura gave a small smile. "That remains to be seen." As they neared the mountains, Paul noticed symbols carved into the rock, pulsing with an inner glow that grew brighter as they approached. "We go on foot from here," Lyra announced, halting the vehicle. They navigated winding passages, the air thick with a sweet-smelling mist. Paul's senses sharpened to an almost overwhelming degree. "We're here," Azura whispered, her voice echoing in the vast space. The cave was breathtaking, with crystals of every color casting brilliant reflections. At the center stood a raised dais, encircled by more pulsing symbols. "What now?" Paul asked, his voice sounding strange. Leah took his hand, sending a shock through his body. "Now we perform the unity ritual. It's the only way to unlock the cave's secrets." Paul hesitated, but the urgency in Azura's gaze drove him forward. They formed a triangle on the dais as Azura began chanting in an alien language. The symbols flared to life, and a wave of energy washed over Paul. Suddenly, he wasn't just hearing Azura's thoughts, he was experiencing her memories, feeling her emotions as if they were his own. Leah's consciousness joined them, and for a moment, they were one, sharing every thought and emotion. When it ended, Paul gasped, falling to his knees. "What was that?" Azura helped him up. "The awakening of your latent abilities." Zorak theorized that humans had untapped potential. It seems he was right. As they explored deeper into the caves, Paul found he could sense things beyond ordinary perception, faint echoes of past events, emotions lingering in the air. It was overwhelming yet exhilarating. "Here," Leah called, pointing to a hidden alcove. "I sense Zorak's energy." They found a cache of data crystals, each pulsing with knowledge. As Paul touched one, images flooded his mind, complex equations, star maps, and a glimpse of a powerful device. "This is it," Azura breathed. "Zorak's life's work, the key to balancing the energies between our worlds." Before they could celebrate, a rumble shook the cave. Dust and small rocks fell as harsh voices echoed from the entrance. "Kronos," Leah hissed. "They've found us." They raced through the tunnels, Paul's newfound abilities guiding them through shortcuts he instinctively knew. They burst out of a hidden exit only to find themselves surrounded by armed figures clad in sleek black armor. The mystery surrounding Zorak's death had begun, with the looming threat of Kronos and the immense power he now commanded, all leading to a fate Paul had never foreseen. With Aura and Leah by his side, he felt ready to face any challenge that lay ahead, Suddenly, the vast viewscreen on Zorak's ship came to life, displaying Kronos' crimson face contorted in a sneer. Paul felt a knot tighten in his stomach as he grasped the seriousness of the situation. "You've led me on quite the chase, human," Kronos growled, his voice echoing through the ship's communication system. "But this game is over. Surrender Zorak's research and the harmonic resonator, or watch as both your feeble Earth and Proxima B burn." Paul's eyes darted to Azora and Leah, seeing his own fear mirrored in their alien expressions. He swallowed hard, stalling for time. "You're bluffing. You don't have that kind of firepower." Kronos' laugh sent chills down Paul's spine. "Oh, but I do." The screen shifted to reveal an immense fleet of warships encircling both planets. "Courtesy of powerful friends who would rather see both our worlds destroyed than united. You have 1 hour to decide." The screen went dark, leaving the trio in tense silence. "He's not bluffing," Azora said, her silver eyes steely. "Those ships have enough firepower to break through both planets' crusts." Leah's tendrils twisted anxiously. "We can't let that happen. Billions of lives are at stake." Paul's mind raced, grappling with the enormity of the situation. There has to be a way to stop him. The resonator isn't complete, we're missing critical components. He closed his eyes, reaching out with his newly awakened abilities. He felt the ship's subtle vibrations, the distant pulse of the planets, and something more, a connection formed in the caves of Luminera, binding him to Azora and Leah. His eyes snapped open. "Maybe we don't need a physical resonator. What if, we are the resonator?" Leah's eyes widened with understanding. "The Unity ritual, it didn't just unlock your abilities, Paul. It linked us." "Exactly," Paul said, a spark of hope igniting. Zorak's research was all about harmonics, creating resonance between different energy patterns. What if we could do that ourselves? Azora nodded slowly. It might be possible, but the energy required. Paul clenched his jaw, thinking it was better for them to face the danger than for two entire worlds. They arranged themselves in a triangle, just as they had done in the sacred cave. He reached out, both physically and mentally, connecting with Azora and Leah's hands. The bond sparked to life, more powerful than ever. "Focus on the planets," Paul instructed, his voice strained. "Feel their energy. We need to generate a harmonic field around them." As they concentrated, Paul sensed an unprecedented power building within him, surging through his body and threatening to tear him apart. He gritted his teeth, pushing through the agony. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Kronos' fleet had opened fire. "It's not enough." Azora gasped. "We need more power." Paul's mind raced. The ship's technology, the Zork systems, they were all part of his inheritance, part of him now. With a mental command, he integrated the ship's systems with their energy matrix. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a shimmering field beginning to form around Earth and Proxima B, but it was still too weak to fend off Kronos' assault. "The bridge," Leah whispered, her voice barely audible. "The final piece of the inheritance, your Earth memories and connection to your home. It's the bridge between worlds. Zorak knew we'd need." Understanding hit Paul, and with a pang of sorrow, he realized the sacrifice he must make. Closing his eyes, he opened his mind entirely, surrendering every memory, every connection to his past life. The energy surged, and he screamed as he felt parts of himself disintegrating. The ship trembled as Kronos' forces recognized what was happening and focused their fire on them, but it was too late. A blinding flash illuminated the view screen, and when it faded, Earth and Proxima B were surrounded by shimmering, impenetrable energy fields. Kronos' weapons harmlessly bounced off the surfaces. "No." Kronos' furious face appeared on the screen. "What have you done?" Paul stepped forward, his body radiating residual energy. "We've accomplished what Zorak always intended, to unite our worlds against those who wish to destroy them." With a thought, Paul reached through the energy field and seized control of Kronos' ships. It's over, Kronos. Surrender, or I'll send you and your fleet into the nearest sun. Kronos's face twisted with rage, but he knew he had been defeated. This isn't the end, he hissed before cutting the transmission. As the adrenaline faded, Paul stumbled, supported by Azora and Leah's steadying hands. Did we succeed? He asked, his voice weak. Leah nodded, tears welling in her eyes. We did. Both worlds are safe. Aura's voice brimmed with wonder. And more than that. The view screen displayed the energy fields around Earth and Proxima B pulsing in perfect harmony. Where they intersected, a bridge of pure light formed between the planets. Zorak's final gift, Azora breathed. A means for our worlds to truly connect. As Paul watched, the bridge of light fragmented. Memories of Earth and his past life flickered in his mind, distant now, like a half-remembered dream. He realized the sacrifice he had made to save both worlds. What happens now? He asked, looking at Azora and Leah. Leah smiled gently. Now we rebuild, and you, Paul Foster, will lead the way. Azora nodded. You're the bridge between our worlds now, the guardian of this new alliance. Paul took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. But as he looked at Azora and Leah, he knew he wouldn't face it alone. A year later, Paul stood on the balcony of the newly established Earth Embassy on Proxima B. The alien sun cast a purple hue over the landscape, familiar yet still breathtaking. Behind him, he heard the soft footsteps of Azora and Leah approaching, their presence warming him and reinforcing the bond between them. The first transport from Earth will arrive soon, Leah announced, excitement evident in her voice. Paul nodded, a swirl of emotions within him. It's hard to believe a year has passed since we activated the bridge. Azora placed a hand on his shoulder. You've adapted remarkably well to your new role. Zorak would be proud. Paul smiled, thinking of his old friend. The mystery of Zorak's death had been resolved in the months following their victory. He had sacrificed himself to initiate these events, knowing that true unity could only come through crisis. There's still so much to accomplish, Paul remarked, gazing at the bustling city below. Kronos is still out there, and there will always be those who resist change. But we face it together, Leah reminded him, taking his hand. Azora nodded, her silver eyes shining. As Zorak intended, three beings from different worlds united in purpose. As the first streaks of light signaled the arrival of the Earth transport, Paul felt a surge of hope. The future was uncertain and filled with challenges he could hardly imagine. Yet, with Azora and Leah by his side and the combined strength of two worlds backing him, he was ready to confront whatever the universe had in store. The bridge between Earth and Proxima B pulsed with energy, a testament to the achievements possible when different worlds came together. And at its center stood Paul, Azura, and Leah, guardians, partners, pioneers of a new era of interplanetary cooperation. As the first transport from Earth landed at the newly constructed embassy, the excitement in the air was palpable. Paul, Azora, and Leah stood at the entrance to greet the arriving delegates, their hearts filled with hope and anticipation. They had worked tirelessly to forge a new alliance, one that promised to usher in an era of peace and collaboration between their worlds. The doors of the transport opened, and a diverse group of Earth representatives stepped out, their faces reflecting a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Among them was Dr. Elena Grant, a renowned scientist whose work had focused on interstellar communication and cooperation. She stepped forward, her expression earnest. Paul, it's an honor to finally meet you, she said, extending her hand. I've heard so much about your bravery and the role you played in uniting our worlds. Thank you, Dr. Grant, Paul replied, shaking her hand firmly. We've only just begun. Together, we can achieve so much more. As the group entered the embassy, they were greeted by an array of holographic displays showcasing the technology and resources from both Earth and Proxima B. The walls shimmered with images of the energy bridge that now connected their two planets, a symbol of their newfound partnership. Elena's eyes widened in wonder as she absorbed the sight. This is incredible. The potential for collaboration is beyond anything I imagined. We can share knowledge, technology, and culture like never before. Azora stepped forward, her voice filled with enthusiasm. And we have much to learn from each other. The Zork's technology and our unique environmental adaptations can enhance life on Earth, while your advancements in science and medicine can greatly benefit our people. The discussions that followed were dynamic, with ideas flowing freely as both sides shared their visions for the future. Paul watched as Leah and Azora engaged with the Earth delegates, their excitement palpable. The sense of unity in the room was contagious, sparking a fervor for progress. However, as the days turned into weeks, it became evident that not everyone was pleased with the new alliance.